Holy moly. All right. We're back. Hope it's working. Using another program because I will never stop making it hard for myself. Trying to see here, making sure everything is getting pumped live. It looks like it is. Coolio. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's been about a week. I had some just busyness last week, so I wasn't able to get to it. But like I said, I haven't touched this since last time. So if you're following the progression, then you haven't missed anything. Thank you for coming back and watching. And I guess we can just get to it. Please view the chat on each platform's webpage. Oh, then what's the point of that? The whole point of this is I was trying to make it so I can see chat, and all this program did was say, hey, why don't you go to your website and look at the chat there, you dum-dum, you knucklehead. All right, so that's what we'll do. I'll just leave these two chat things open just in case people are chatting. That kind of helps a little bit. All right, so where did we leave off? We left off here. Let's see. Sorry, 1 second. Getting buzzed. Okay. So let's go. Let's do this. I have no music playing. Maybe I should find some music real quick, just so there'll be something to listen to in the background. Something. Royalty-free, all releases play mix. Holy moly! All right. Sure. Oh wait, here you go. Relaxing jazz. Sure. I'm not sure if that's overpowering. You guys let me know. So here we go. Right on. It might be actually double because it's because of what you guys can hear through pumping through the microphone. So I will put on a headset. That should help. All right, so let's get to it. I can listen to this awful jazz with you guys. Okay, so where we're at right now, here's the drawing again. And actually, what I might have to do is restart this real quick because my pen is not working on the Wacom. Let me try this real quick. I have a thing with my Cintiq where sometimes it doesn't register the pen. And it's doing it right now. Alright, so I'm going to have to close this out. Let me save this. Starting off with technical difficulties, which is always a joy. And then I have to start this up and go to tablet services and restart. There we go. It's working. Fire Photoshop. Well, let's do this. This music's boring. But you know, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Hopefully I'll be talking enough to where you will be able to even know. You won't even know what's going on. Okay, so here we are. We're left here. We got our lovely drawing on top. And just getting everything kind of set up, which I probably should have done before, but oh well. Here we go. So what I'm going to work on now is the tower, which is the best part. I haven't really looked at this since, and it looks all right. I think I'm going to mess with the tree up here in this kind of area here. It's kind of getting lost a little bit with that cliffside, but let's build this tower. Let's draw this tower first, and then from there I'll kind of reposition stuff as needed. But I don't hate it. So let's continue on. So there's the drawing again. I'm going to drop the opacity down a little bit so I can see through it. So when I make these shapes on top, I can see it. So what I need to do is I might need to make sure that it's behind these rocks. Again, these are all on different layers, all these different elements, and then I grouped all of the layers accordingly. It's a beauty of Photoshop, again, that you can do layers upon layers and organize everything, which I'm super anal about. And I'll label stuff, maybe a little too much, but I just learned over the course of the years of working digitally, not just for myself, but for corporate, I guess. It's always nice because if they ever hand it off to somebody, they know what they're looking at, and a lot of designers and a lot of artists do not do that. They'll just make multiple layers and layers and layers. I try to sometimes at the end go through it, not necessarily on my own. I'm doing it in real time on my own, but sometimes when I'm working on a design project, I'll go through and make sure I label everything and then delete layers that don't need to be there, because there can be a lot of garbage left in these layer files. Anyway, so I have this rock layer. So if you see here, I have a rock layer I'm turning off and on, which is the foreground. And then I have a ground layer, which is, you see the water and the ground plane. And then this tree layer. So this tower needs to live behind all of that. I want to set it behind these trees. Should I set it in front of the trees? How do I have the drawing? I want to put it in front of the trees. Another thing with Photoshop too is if I don't like where it's at, I can just move the whole thing back and move it forward and backwards within the space, which is nice. I might even put it on the tree layer in front of some trees and behind some others to kind of give it a little more depth, which I think is what I'm going to end up doing. But for the sake of just drawing it, I'll make sure or painting it, I'll make sure that I paint it first, and then I can worry about where it's going to live. So I definitely want it behind the rocks, though. So we're just going to do it right behind the rocks, the rock layer here, but in front of this ground layer. You won't be able to tell because it actually all lives behind the rock, but yeah. Anyways, here we go. So again, I'm always working back to front. So what I'm going to do is going to make sure that I draw this little guy here. I'm going to pick two arbitrary colors again, and I use this. The yellow might actually get lost, so let's just do like this really obnoxious blue. This is just the shapes that I'm building, so then I could see what I'm doing. I'm going to use, I don't know if this is going to look too weird to use. I try not to use too much of these straight lines because it is a little unnatural when it comes to when they're painted. It's obvious that that's what they are. So sometimes I try to do it by hand, but sometimes my hand is sloppy. But something about the imperfections of your hand-drawn stuff is what can make it look a little better. I can tell that is kind of getting weird, so let me zoom in a lot here. So with this too, once I let go, this lasso tool automatically snaps to the end, so it'll make that end nice and sharp, which I think I'll leave. And again, I can go through and decide to change that and make it use the straight edge, the unnaturally straight, which I kind of want to do here. In the drawing, I used the tool that made it so the line was straight, the blue line. Again, it's really confusing. If you're looking at it now, you kind of don't understand what is going on and what I'm doing. But trust me, it makes sense. It makes sense. Just believe me. Yes, and then here. Okay, so I'm going to do this by hand, the tower part, just because, why not? Here we go. So I could try to keep a straight hand here, and again, I'm almost kind of hoping that my hand wobbles a little bit. And this is, of course, living behind, and then I'm going to go back up. Again, it's going to create like a little bit of an imperfect line, which sometimes I'll label it as an organic looking line. But again, we'll see how that looks. We'll see how it looks when it's all said and done. You'll see. And then from here, I'll start from this corner again and go up and down and snap it. And then look at that. And then what else do we have? We're going to have I'm always trying to think of what's in front of what. So there will be this window here. And then within that window, there's going to be somebody. So I'll use that as a mask. And then everything else looks like it's on top of it and using it. So like with this mossy part. Lock this layer. So what I'm doing now is I'm selecting the blue part and I'm going to subtract this mossiness. So like, okay, there's moss there. How am I doing this actually? What I'll do is I'll cut away at it. I'm kind of talking to myself, thinking out loud here. Sorry. But I am going to draw the. Okay, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to draw the shape first. And this is, to me, what the moss is going to be. And I can do that. Now I can select this. No, that's not going to work. I'm a dum-dum. So I'm selecting that. I am... How many times am I going to draw this moss, guys? That doesn't make sense. I'm out of practice. Oh, okay, that's what I'm doing. Going the wrong way. There we go. It's actually a lot more mossy that I need to do. So before I do that, I'm going to do this again. So I'm essentially cutting out all the mossy areas that I want. I know there's a weird way of doing it, but it worked. I just want the lines on the edge to match up is what's happening. And you'll see right here when I do this, these the lines will match up nicely. I don't know why it keeps doing that every time I hit spacebar. There we go. Okay, so I think now I can just take off the drawings. I know I want to do these little bricks all up in here, and I don't need this drawing anymore to tell me that, because I know what I'm doing. Sometimes I know what I'm doing. So I'll take that away, and this is kind of what we got right now. Looks a little silly with these bright colors, and the fact that it's living in front of the rocks, which I totally forgot to do. Is totally living. Oh, I put the rocks. If I put the rocks here beneath the drawing layer, boom. Oh no! Oh no! Rocks, 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 rocks. There we go. Now the rocks are in the front. Let me go zoom in a little bit. Looks really ridiculous. I kind of like the wobbly lines of the tower. I know it's kind of hard to tell. They look pretty straight, but I mean, maybe I could because the trees are perfect circles. Maybe the tower should be a perfect circle, but I can always fix that later. It's easy to recut that little mask hole, but because when I'm painting it, I'm going to paint bigger than the actual tower. So if I just change it so slightly, you won't even tell. Okay, so this is the basicness of this. I did want to cut a hole in the side of the tower here, so I'm going to do that for sure, which is right here. So I'm going to just kind of cut a little chunk out of this. Boom. Chunk taken out. Okay. And then now we got to figure out what color we want to do this tower. So it's probably going to stick with like a grayish to make it pop out a little bit. So let's fill this. And I never use straight gray. It's always some kind of variation of a color in gray. Like a pinkish or a bluish. They call that warm and cool. When it comes to like blacks and whites and grays, we don't normally just do a solid white or a solid black. It's always somewhere. Here, I'll kind of bring this in the frame. Like if I'm going to do like a gray and I wanted to make this purpley like this, I would consider this a warm. This is even warmer down here, gray. I guess this might be a cool gray because it's on the cooler side. The blues. If it's more blue, then it's cooler. If it's more red, then it's warmer. And sometimes it's so subtle you can't tell. If I were to do this whole canvas in this kind of color, this little white grayish color right here, you wouldn't be able to tell. You would just think that it was white unless you had it right next to something that was stark white. Then you would be able to tell for sure. But it's just easier on the eyes when stuff isn't so white and so black. I seldom make anything solid black because it's very obvious. Even this, what you're looking at on the screen, you'll see that what this over here isn't black. It's just a very, very dark gray. But then like what you see on this bar right here, that's a solid black. It's very obvious that it is. Anyways, so let's do a cooler gray. So I'll kind of go down here. Again, I'll go really light because I want to make sure that make sure that you can see it. There we go. And that it's popping off behind that. I might have to put some more kind of atmospheric mist behind it to make it pop out, because like unless I make the tower really bright, it's not really going to work. I'll try this really light gray right here too, and you're barely going to notice a difference. But there was a difference. So let's try this. Just a buddy. And normally I will just kind of Actually, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to rotate the canvas a little bit because I want, since it's brick and brick kind of lays left to right, I'm not really going to do too much of the diagonal. Again, that's just kind of a choice that I'm making because I figure brick is going to leave a pattern that's, you know, horizontal like this. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just going to make more sense when I'm doing the patterns. Now the green for the moss and stuff, I'll do different colors or different patterns. But for this, see, it's already the same color as this, so I'm gonna have to really darken it up down here. There we go. And then up here, I might have to keep it light. We'll see. I might just make it really dark, and then because it'll look good if it's dark up here too. Then where the brown is of the cliff, I'll have to do some mist effects or lighten up the cliff face actually, which is what I might do it overall. Again, I said this from the beginning of the earlier videos, is like, you know, I'll stick to this color, I'll do this color palette, and it's the, when I'm not pre-planning like you're supposed to do, where you kind of block in all the color in a little tiny, you know, just real quick, once over, just using flat color, not worrying about texture, just to kind of get an idea of where all the colors are going to live. I don't normally paint that way. Maybe I should. Maybe for the next one I'll do that. I'll do a color comp, and then I'll have that in the window, and you'll kind of see where I'm going with it, and then I can just pull colors from there. But for this project and testing out this streaming thing, I just kind of wanted to dive right in and paint, because for me a little bit of the fun is kind of exploring what the options are and how things look and going back and fixing them. I actually learn a lot more by doing that. Because I have a feeling even if I did the color comp, I would still have to go in and change some colors because I'm still not the best at color. So I went back in and just put that same white back in there just to kind of, now I'm going to give it even more texture, kind of going back over. And again, I know it feels like I negated what I did, and I kind of did, but it's all part of it. It's all part of it. I actually will go a different angle down here just to get it darker. And if there is a light source coming, let's just say it's coming left to right, then there would be a harsh line here, so I can do that. And I'm going to keep it horizontal and vertical and try not to do any diagonals at all to, again, keep that idea of a brick. I'll go in it with actual lines. You'll see when I start doing detail stuff, but that's pretty good. There's pretty good towerness right there. And now I'm going to work on this color of this moss here. Again, start it really light. Really light moss, and then kind of go in, and I'll do the circle thing with this. Again, this is, the tone of this is too close to that mountain, to the back. So that's going to have to change for sure. And let's actually do that now, because I want these to be these earthy greens and stuff on here. It doesn't have to be this dark. It can actually probably be a little more of this lime greenish kind of thing, which might help. Oops. Might as well just color all the moss. There we go. So I'm just kind of coloring this moss. That actually helps. I still think I'm going to change the color of this big brown area here. I think I might make it more red, to be honest. Red, orangey red. It just feels like that's what it should be. This earthy, tony brown. Again, I can always keep this. Again, that's the beauty of Photoshop is I can do it very easily and just save this, so I won't even be messing with this. I can always paint over it and turn it off and turn it on. So let me go back here and let me try like an orangey reddish. This is gonna look like flesh colored. But let's see here. I'm gonna bump up this brush a little bit. You'll see it's lagging a little bit because I have so many layers and stuff being painted. that it has to like render it all out. And I have a 32 gigs of RAM in here, which if you don't know, that's a lot of RAM. So it should be doing better than it is. See, it's still looking brown. We'll see. I'll show you. That's like a brownish. This is a little more red. It does help. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another one and turn these ones off. It's even more orange. Like it might even look pink right now when I do this. I know it looks pink, but as soon as I start laying this in, it's going to get darker and darker. This might be a little too much. But this is how I work. I just kind of experiment over and over again. Again, this is getting a little, for me, a little too reddish and out of my comfort zone when it comes to like palette. I like to keep the palette kind of a little muted, not so obnoxiously Photoshop. Or it'd be like unnatural to try to print something like this. This music is not very good. Sorry, guys. I just keep hearing it. Let's try this fleshy color. We'll just do like a pocket of it. Oh, okay. This might actually work. Because it will get darker and darker and more like a reddish brown, which is what I really want it to be. I kind of like where this is going. There we go. I don't know. I really don't know. Here, I'll show you. I mean, this one looks still a little better. This one kind of matches the color palette. I could cheat a little bit and do this thing where I can just darken just this layer. You'll see me. See how I can just darken this? That's totally a cheat. Rather than repainting it. Or I can change the saturation of it so I can really bump it up. Make it really bright. Again, I don't like doing this that much because I totally feel like it's cheating, but you can even change the color. See? Yeah, I don't know. Trying to find something that's going to make it pop. Or make the tower pop a little bit. So here's the original. Again, it's subtle, but I basically just made it a little more red, which might work. Let's stick with that. Let's see what happens. I gotta do this. Yeah, it looks better than these two, I think. Let's stick with that. Let's see what happens. Let's keep painting this tower. And again, I'll do the mist a little higher on that side too, to make it come out. All right, so let's keep going on with this. I gotta find this gray again, which is probably lost by now. I feel like this is it right here. So I'm back to painting up here this little tower guy. Yep. I'll do the same thing I did to the other thing, and then do it a little bit darker, closer, kind of give it a little. Let me do that again. Just using a bigger brush, so there we go. Yeah, kind of make it darker there. And then what I'll do here too is I'll make it dark under this roof, and then do another pass at this side. And maybe even put a little bit of darkness under the moss, just to make the moss stick out a little bit. feel like I can do something else with that moss. I might do another layer, actually. That might look kind of cool. So if I pick this, and then I'm going to keep that same edge and then do another layer. If that makes sense. So I'm kind of just cutting. This one actually should be okay. I should probably do another one. Let me make another pass at that. So I'm just doing another layer. And I'm trying to keep that edge straight along that line. Again, it's just a stylistic thing. And then I could, let's see, F6 that. Oops. And then I got to do a new layer on top. And then F6. You might hear me say F6, F5. That's what I'm hitting on my keyboard for shortcuts. And sometimes I'm just talking to myself about it to keep my sanity. All right, so here we go. I'm going to paint this second layer of the moss. You see how I kind of added just another layer. And then actually what I might do is make it a little bit even lighter than that. That way, when I do it, it's at least a different color, at least a little bit. You know what? I'm going to go back. I don't like it. I'm going to do it the same one. Kind of do what I did for that other effect. Well, now that I know this is going to be there. So what I can do is make it a little bit darker here. Actually, just do this. You'll see what I'm doing here. So you'll see the second layer there of that. And I'm going to go and kind of mess with the tips of it. I did this on the other piece with the dragon. It's kind of another little trick that I do. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can kind of see what's going on here. So I'm just kind of getting the edges a little brightness. Because this is the original green, and then I'll go back and do the multiply where it gets darker and darker. So I'll do that here. And then what I do is for this back, I go back to this back layer of the green, and if I kind of just keep hitting it, you see now it's really going to make that edge pop there. I'm just making it a little bit darker behind. And it kind of creates this cool double layer effect here, and I'll do it here. I just have to make sure I keep the tops of the little bushes or little moss bright. So then when I do it dark, it really pops out behind it. There you go. See? Boom, boom. And make these bright. I know I just kind of redid what I did before, but there we go. And then do behind them again. Again, I'm working on, this is painting behind. Here we go. A little better. A little more dimension to them. I could maybe do a third, but we'll see. I might just do some like viney kind of things, which I can actually do right now. Let's just play around with it, because let's have some fun. So it's going to live on the same mask that this other thing is, but what I can do is I can use this brush right here, and if you see how it doesn't paint over here, but as soon as I go into the mask area, there it goes. So if I kind of just do that, and then have some viney things kind of going around. Might look kind of cool to have it be like that. Let's see here. Have some overlapping vines. This may be a little dark, to be honest. So I might do some tricks where I mask this as well. We'll do that. And we'll do that and that. Again, I'm just being really arbitrary with these. I don't have any plan for this. I'm just trying to think if they were drooping down, where would they be? big swooping one like that. Zoop. Zoop. This one I don't really, I need to redo this one because I have I'm making a new rule that it's got to be swoopy like that. Like this one doesn't really make any sense, so if I want to do something like that, I got to swoop it this way. Just kind of keeping my own laws, my own rules. I almost want it to overlap like that. Yeah, like that, like that, like that. Same with here. Like I can just droop this one down and boom. Yeah, looks pretty cool. All right, let's see how that looks. Yeah, I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that at all. I'm going to do one down here. I do like it. Yeah, looks pretty cool. I kind of want it to be on its own thing. So what I'm going to do here, choosing this mask, I'm no longer going to mask this. And then I will cut all of these. Oops. Inverse, cut. So I just made all these vines its own mask layer just by a little trick. There's probably a better way to do it. I wish you could do like a double mask. I don't think you can though. So I kind of cheated. I was using the tower as the mask, and now it's just its own thing. So I literally cut it off at the edges. The reason I did that is so now I can go here, and I'm going to, this is again super subtle. I am going to be able to paint these now, just the lines. So the lines themselves are now masks. Go back to my favorite brush here and see when I go over them, you'll see how they kind of change color a little bit. I wanted to do that just so I can give them a little bit of color variation and texture, and like I'll keep some of them bright, but I can make some of them dark now. And you see it's just painting inside the lines. And then that way I can kind of like, I don't know, it just gives it a little extra something. I know it's hard to tell, but I can tell. So if you see it now, let me zoom in just a little bit. There's a little bit of texture on these lines now, where before we turn off the mask, see it's just the green. Again, it's so subtle, but it's, for me, it's those little things when you kind of combine all of them together, it just makes it look a little better, a little more polished. I see that a lot with artists that I like. I'll see them work on something, and then they're kind of doing something really small and minuscule, and you're like, they spent a lot of time making that one thing. And then you zoom out, and you can't even see it. But you can a little bit. And if you do that enough, if you do it over and over all over the piece, then all of a sudden the whole piece itself just looks better when you take away those details. All right. I actually don't know if I'll be able to finish this today because I'm going to be doing details and stuff. All right, so I actually don't know if I need the brick, and I'm thinking that if I add the brick, it might be too much. I think just the painting itself makes it look like it's brick, but I will do the top. I got to do the top. And let me do this real quick because this is super obnoxious looking. So if I just pick a gray, a blue, whatever, I'm just going to, just so we know that it's a window. I'm going to put her inside with her hair going out. It's just going to bother me if I keep it that pink color. All right, and then, so I'm going to now pick the color of this, which I kind of want like a terracotta-y looking. And again, this will be the same as like that, as I did for the brick. Oops. I'm going to put the color behind. I'm actually going to rotate this a little bit so my natural painting stroke is a little better. And I'll do the same thing with how I did in the other one, where I kind of just did a line of darkness. And for this one, I will do a little bit of detail using that same color in a different brush. What I'll do is I'm just going to kind of go like this. I did this for a painting once and I really liked it. Try to stay away from a tangent on this cloud here. So I'm purposely doing like not parallel lines. I just think it looks better. And then I'll do it for this one too. There we go. That's good. What I'm going to do here is I'll try the line thing here just to see what it looks like, actually doing the brick lines. And again, I would pick the same gray that I'm using and do it, but I just get worried that it's going to be too much. And if I do this, just kind of, again, arbitrarily picking brick patterns. Let's see. Actually, it looks pretty cool. I might have to darken it a little, but that looks pretty rad. I'll do it. Let's just see what it looks like. The other option that I was going to do is just do a brick here and there, which I might also try. Which was just like do like a brick shape like this. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. And then I can do some outside and some here and some close. I should probably have a grid on so I can make sure that these are somewhat parallel to the ground. And I'm just, again, arbitrarily, I don't know, I'm just kind of getting a feel for where I want the bricks. Sometimes I want them close. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah, I went a little crooked here. No. Let me make them a little more dim. Maybe that's it. No, that's not it either. Let's see, if I made them black, would that make a difference? Oops. No, I just don't think I like them. So I'm just going to hide it. I don't want to delete what I just did. And I will turn on a grid here. And this is a little bit of cheating. But oh well. It's not going to... I just want to keep these grid lines so I can make sure when I'm doing these horizontal lines, like you could see here on the roof, they're asymmetrical, but it's just so I make sure that I'm not doing them too much at an angle, because then it'll look like I don't know what a straight line is. So here we go. And I got to do the same kind of grayish. That's a warm gray. This is the cool gray. Okay, here we go. So I think maybe even around this would be something like this. We kind of just roughly put this in. And then kind of barely do a line around. I don't like to do outlines normally. I'm going to get rid of that. But I did that on its own layer just to see. So the bricks are approximately, so I'm going to do that one, and then I'll do that. Actually, let me just go straight across like that. And I'm actually going to turn off the grid now because I already have enough of these lines. So we'll see if I can keep it close to these other lines, the ones above and below. It just gets very confusing. So many lines. I'm trying to change the pressure of how hard I'm doing it to get some line variation going on, so it's not just the same thickness. Because again, that's another thing that makes it look very digital, as if everything is kind of the same. I think this might be a little too much, I can just tell. As much as I like it on that little tower part. Let's see. Yikes! Yeah, it's a little much. It's a little much. I think that the painting does, the texture does it enough. Even if I lower the opacity of this and have it be a little see-through, it still feels unnecessary. So maybe it will be the bricks, but instead of doing outlines, I'll do shapes. And then paint those shapes in. I think that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I could use this, and I just might. What I'm doing is I'm picking these bricks. I'm just doing squares. I'm not being super precise about it to make it look a little more freehand. Yeah, so here we go. Bricks on bricks on bricks. And this will actually, the bricks will force these to be straight because this lasso tool does perfectly straight edges. There we go. And now I can hide that one, and I will do a new one. So there's the bricks. Again, it's a lot of freaking bricks. I'm getting rid of some of the edges here. And then what I do is I do that same masking thing. And so I'm picking a color for it to be. And then I'll zoom in and paint them a little bit. See, I can paint them darker and some lighter. I might just do them all a little darker. That way, I can push some of them back, and some of them won't be that noticeable, and some of them will. But it'll give it variation. Yeah, I like that. That looks way better. I can actually even put some more of this color back in if I want to make some of them. I almost want to make some of them just disappear, so they're really subtle. Um, almost the same color as the back, what's behind it, but just enough to see it. And then you'll have ones that'll just kind of pop out. Again, this is all that crazy detail work. That I don't know if it's boring to watch. It might be. I mean, this whole thing, for some people, just tune out immediately. But again, you can fast forward and scrub and take what you want from it. Or maybe you find it relaxing. I'm going to do the brick thing here real quick with some of this, so this one doesn't feel all alone. So we'll do that. And then I'll do the same thing where I choose inverse and delete. And oops, then I pick this again, and I'll do color, and then I'll do the same thing I did before where I paint. It's actually a little easier to tell from far away how it looks. Yeah, it's pretty good. Maybe do a couple lighter ones. There we go. There we go. I like it. Kind of gives them a little bit of variation, so we'll kind of zoom out. We'll see what it looks like. Looks pretty good. I do think that the tower needs to pop a little more behind that brown rock. Let's see what we got going on here. I feel like I just got buzzed for something. All right. And this white around here is kind of sticking out to me now. So what I need to do is make this a little bit darker. So I'll do the same thing where I make it its own layer and just kind of make it a dark version of it. There you go. And kind of mix. I don't know, the white kind of did look a little cooler. Maybe somewhere in between. Not necessarily. Alright. Let's put her in there so we can at least have all the elements done, and then I can go in and start tweaking stuff. That way, if you just kind of want to see what it looks like without, I mean, almost complete, then we could do that. I'm just making my layer right now, like I said, with the whole entire tower in there. And then I just had her, just the hair, the lady in the hair. So I can put that in front, and what I'll do is I'll just kind of rough out. This is going to be so simple. It's going to look nothing like her because I just basically need the shape of her head. Which will be that. And then I need the shape of her hair. So let me see what I did for the drawing, just so I can kind of keep it a little bit like it. And I'll just pretend that her hair is like this. This is going to be kind of big and sweeping, so I might need to zoom out a little bit more. How long did I do this freaking hair? There we go. And then it goes like this. And we'll just kind of... I kind of like that. So I'm going to keep this. I like it. I mean, I just like the shape of it. And this was all freehand. I didn't do anything. But I like it. But what I need to do is add some kind of more... so what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate that layer just so I don't lose that initial one. And let's see what I did for the drawing. Did I just have it, the one strand of hair? It looks like it. Yeah. So now I can make some decisions. I'm going to back up. I'm going to see what it looks like. That hair can even be longer, to be honest. And since I just duplicated this so I won't lose the original, I can kind of mess with it now. You know, and decide how big or how small I want it. Like, where do I want it to live? So that one looks pretty good too. I just want it to look long enough for if it was straight down, it would hit the ground, which I think that does. That's a tough call. I'm not really sure. That also looks good. Let's do this one. Because what I'm going to do is add a little bit. So I'm going to make another copy of this. And then I could do stuff like this. And add. I don't know if I want it flaring out this way. So I'm just trying to think of other ways to have the hair flare out to make it look cool. And again, I can get rid of a lot of these if I need to, but like this part would probably be going down. Maybe even in another curl. Maybe make it look a little more organic and natural. I would do something like that. Maybe not that drastic. I just don't want it to look too much like a tail. This is what I would kind of do for a dog's tail. But what I'll do is I'll do this on a whole other layer. And then do that. So I can turn it off and on. I don't really like how this is splitting, so what I would do is add it like this. Just trying to decide how I want the hair. I might even knock out like a chunk in the middle like that. So it's like coming apart and going together. Again, this part is probably a little slow. But I'm just trying to figure out, because this is kind of the main reason for this is the hair. And do some arbitrary kind of flaring out a little bit. Like it. Again, it might be a little too much. It might be going a little overboard. But I kind of want it to go thick and thin. I would get rid of this part right here. Try to get this going here. Just trying to make this curves look good. Sorry, I'm not really talking as much as I did last time. Again, this is just a lot of figuring out, so it's hard to keep talking while I'm concentrating, trying to figure out what looks good and what doesn't. But I think you would get that. Hopefully this is all, yeah, it's all showing up on the screen. So at least you're seeing what I'm doing. That looks pretty good. It might be a little too much of what do you call it, filigree. The initial's that. I mean, I can paint this and then just see how it looks. The single almost looks better. Oh, God, I don't know. I do think that there's part of it that is a little too much. These little flyaways might be a little too much. Like this little flyaway too might be too much. Yeah. I think this is too much. I'm just undoing everything. Well, that's part of the original. Maybe this one down here is just a little too big. All right, like that. Let's do that. So what I'll do is I'll take these, I'm going to combine these together and use this as the hair. And this will do this and this. All right, let's paint this hair. Let's paint this hair, guys. Stop messing around here. And then let's see. I'll just make sure I do this. And there's the hair. Yeah, it's a little hard. I have to kind of keep it zoomed out more than I normally would, just because I need to see what's going on here. I can already tell this is going to be too dark, so I need this to be like yellow, 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 an unnatural yellow. And when I'm painting this, I'm just going to kind of go with the flow of the hair and not really go any other direction. And I'll kind of darken some places, you know, like right here and here, maybe here, here, right here, and here. There. And then I'm going to go back in with the bright again and kind of just hit some spots. Because the way that this brush is, it actually has a texture on it, which is going to suit itself well for hair. If I just lightly do it, you'll see it almost looks like little hairs. It's almost like a dry brush look. I'm going to turn this thing back on again and then do it again. Yes, see, and then boom, kind of just do it like that, do it through it. Yep. Kind of just do a couple like this, like there's highlights in that part of it. A little too much. Might be a little bit of a reflective light down here. That will help. Do it on here too, just a little bit. So it's a little bit of cheating, but it's also there's a reality. You learn when you do like still lives in art class, you're like painting apples and weird stuff like that. I guess apples aren't that weird. When you're painting stuff, they'll shine a big bright light on it, and it's kind of strange. So you would normally think you would have like a highlight and then a shadow behind it, where the light's coming this way, the highlight would be here, the shadow would be here. But the light also hits the table and it comes up off the table, no matter what color the table is. Even if it's black, there's still something. And that's like a reflective highlight. So you'll see that sometimes, like in old Renaissance paintings, if you look really close, they actually paint in that highlight, and that's one of those details that adds a level of realism. Because stuff does get hit with light underneath it. It's kind of cool when you notice it. So sometimes I'm just cheating, and I will just be doing it to make things pop off of a canvas or whatever. Like if it's too dark, then I can put a highlight underneath. But it's a real life thing, real world thing, I should say, not real life. Let me, this is a little too painted. Same with this. There we go. I don't know. Looking pretty good. Let's back away. I do want the hair to come off more. And I think it's just because everything is too bright. Here, I'll turn on that black and white layer that I talked about before, where you can see everything in value. So if stuff looks the same here, then that's how it looks when it's in color. This is another trick I learned. You just make everything black and white. You can see what's really popping off. It's like the snow up here. The snow in the mountains coming off. The clouds are definitely coming off. The tower in the sky is coming off. Down here it gets a little muddy with the tree and the hair. I mean, you can see the difference, but the difference is only because of the highlights and shadows I added. Like if you were to take away, the line work, it would look exactly the same, which is not good. Which means that I need to make the water a different color, or I need to make the hair a different color, or a different value. Same with the tower a little bit, but you can see how I made the tower dark here, and now it's popping off when I turn off the. You see, I'm using grays essentially, and you would think that they would mean that they would look the same, or they would get, like I said, get a little muddy where you can't tell what's what. But because the contrast is so high, you can see it, and it's obvious when you turn this thing on. But like, what's weird too in color, if you see over here the yellow tree on the right. And the fog, you can definitely see the differences there, but when I turn on the black and white, they get lost because that's the same value. It's the same value. Anyways, so that's kind of just another trick when you're kind of going through and looking at color and maybe why stuff isn't working. That could be the reason why. I don't hate the hair. It's all right. I don't know if I just should have went with the simpler one. What I could actually do is keep the same color and do it for that. This is going to get a little confusing, guys. So let me do this, and then if I do this, there's the single strand. Here's the double. I don't know. I wonder if I need to add details, like if I have that same yellow and I'm using this brush, I could just kind of just do stuff like that. Just adding some line work here. Let's see. I don't know if that's going to work, to be honest. Let me do it within the thing itself, within the hair itself. I'm just kind of following the contours of it again. Just trying to see if I can add some texture to this hair, because I don't really feel like it's working too well. And it should be one of the better parts about it. It's kind of the focus, it's kind of the reason. Yeah. I wonder if that's what I can do. Kind of break the hair up in chunks like that. I don't know. Helped a little. Yeah. Gonna make this water a little darker, maybe. This is where I start tweaking. So this is pretty much going to be what the piece is. I'm just going to kind of go in and tweak some stuff, which isn't all that exciting. When I'm kind of just, I should make her something, make her skin some kind of color. Go. If I just keep going, she's eventually going to turn to that dark solid color. There we go. Yeah, that's kind of not important. That's not the point. It really just could be the hair coming out of the tower. But yeah, and let me put some mist behind here, and we do this again. Mist way behind. Do another layer of mist. I'm using my Brutus or the Beast brush, and I will just choose straight up white. This is where the computer's gonna get mad at me again, because I have so many layers painted that it's just like, what are you doing? Because it has to figure out what color the pixels are and what layer it's on and all that other garbage. I mean, that helps a little bit. This is my eraser here. I'm just going to kind of go through and lighten this up a little bit. It's a little too... I'm just going over with the brush to smoke again. Hey, Fred. Dog Fred's in the house. Fred's in the house. Helps a little, sorry. And then what I think I'm going to do is with this waterfall, I'm going to redo the color on this. To make it darker, because it's kind of clashing with the hair here. So if I do that, and then use this Bristol Buddy guy and make it a little bigger. Let's see. So go to town, make it super dark. And then go back in and make it light again. Yeah. is kind of, this might work actually a little bit better. Just kind of going back and forth and adding more and more layers of color here. I do want it to stand out. And right now, even this blue gets a little lost. Make this brush a little bigger. Yeah, this color might actually be a little better value-wise. I'm going to make it darker behind the hair, which means that I need to down here make this water a little more blue as well. So I'm going to recolor this water here to match the waterfall. There we go. It's a little better. I mean, it makes the hair pop off a little bit because they were this kind of the same color. Yeah. And then the other thing I wanted to do here, I gotta go, was to mess with the size of this tree here. And that was to make it bigger. It's either bigger or smaller. That's pretty good. And then I gotta do it with the branches. Now I gotta move the branches. Just trying to match these up so they hit the edge. All right. Okay, I'm going to stop here for the day. I need to go. But I might come back to this one more time to do details, but I think this basically is going to be it. So I got a little quiet there at the end, but I was just trying to figure out stuff, the details. I should probably have that figured out before next time, so I can be talking a little more. But yeah, I think I'm going to go in. I'm going to do one more pass with details on this. So maybe I'll do that on Wednesday. If not, then I'll just start a new piece. Sorry, not Wednesday, on Friday. I might start a new piece and then just show you guys what this one looked out on Instagram and Facebook, show how it turned out at the very, very end. Because now it's just going to be like little teeny tiny things, which will be not fun to watch. I know this one was probably pretty slow because I got into the details on this one. When I'm doing the big painting and the big color choices is kind of when it's more fun to watch. So lesson learned. So I will, I'll see you guys next time. I'm going to try to do a new piece on Friday. If there's people watching, then maybe I'll have some help deciding what is going to be put in it. I don't know what it's going to be. I have zero idea. But thank you for watching, and here you can take us a look at this piece here. Let me put it here with nothing, and just do this guy. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.